So if you currently possess this trait, it's awful. It's an awful one. Most people probably don't like you. And if you know people around you that do this, I want to help you figure out ways to deal with them and just make your life a lot better. So this is a win-win situation all around. Look at them over there. This can't believe. I don't know why they don't just bunch of idiots. I'm tired. You don't care about. Well, they did it again every single time. Yeah, because everybody's an idiot. Now I can't do it. It's a tough reality that there's a lot of people in this world that complain about every single thing there is. They're completely ruining their life and the people around them, and they have no idea what they're doing to it. Now, complaining is pretty much one of the least beneficial things somebody can do in their life. And the studies, although limited, have found that this is pretty much the case. Types of complainers. The chronic complainer. So the first and largest offender is the chronic complainer. This person complains about everything and everyone. Nobody can do anything right, and they have absolutely no idea the kind of damage that they're doing to themselves and their life and the people around them. Now, this is a behavior deeply rooted in dissatisfaction of their own life in general, maybe some depression, but they're maybe unaware of it. And the biggest thing is that they don't feel like they have any control over their life. Even though in the end we all do, this person just leaves things up to chance or to everyone else. And because their life is so miserable, they continue on thinking they have nothing that they can do except for complain. Now, this person is so hateful of themselves and everyone around them. Even if they became aware of their complaining, they probably feel like they couldn't do anything about it, and they would probably complain about it itself. It's like you can't win with them sometimes. The venter. Now, the venter is a weird one because the venter isn't really looking for anything. They're not trying to get you to do anything. They're just complaining, and it's on an emotional level. They're really just looking for sympathy deep down. So it's a really emotionally charged thing and doesn't really have much to do with the situation. Now, this is a tricky one because venter is tough because they're playing with fire. It's found that the more a person vents, the more they become a chronic complainer. And this is just dangerous territory. Venting, although can be completely normal, is great. It actually makes some people feel better on occasion. It's, like I said, it's playing with fire. The more somebody does it, the more they become like a chronic complainer. The biggest thing you can do around somebody who's venting is take note of their frequency of how often they vent. Because it could literally just be them looking for sympathy and they're venting. And it doesn't happen that often, maybe like once a month or every few months, who knows, I don't know. But the more it happens, if it happens every day, every week, it's not really a venting as it is a complaint. And if you put that into two categories and recognize when they're actually just being a miserable curmudgeon versus somebody who's in need of help and looking for somebody to make them feel better, there's a big difference. To rule out venting as a bad and negative thing is missing the point. Tread carefully because there is a difference, albeit that venting still has been found doesn't truly make people feel better all the time. It's undecided at this point. Generally speaking, it's not a good thing to do. The conversationalist. This one I hate so much. This person uses complaints as a conversation, and they have so little going on in their life that they need to make up drama. They like to tear others down so that they feel taller. This is a poisonous person. I personally do not get along with this kind of complaining. Honestly, I can deal with the others because they're a little more logical and measurable, but this one is like a hater. This one just has absolutely nothing going on. The worst. Now, this person, they just don't have this connection with people. They have like an imaginary connection with people, and they don't actually listen to what people say or what they talk about, what they're passionate about. They don't inquire about the people they're talking about or what the things that they're into. So they take their own world, their own bubble, and they find the things in it that are worth mentioning or something that they can't stop thinking about because they're negative and depressed, and they just complain about everything. So that's their talking points. and they just can't actually talk to another person. They're talking at them, and it's really destructive to the whole interaction. They're tough, man, and they're always just trying to look cool, and they think that making fun of other people is cool and it makes them look awesome. Again, like I said, they're haters. They're trying to bring somebody down so they look taller and bigger and cooler. They just have no concept of other people and other people's worlds, view and perspectives. They just think that their truth is the only truth. You see this in extremist political point of views all the time. Like, this politician, this party is awful. They're the worst. Their nonsense is absolutely ridiculous. And it comes to this because they just can't imagine that other people have different beliefs and different views. And nobody is right. Everything has two sides. That whole yin-yang thing. But I digress. The problem with them. In some studies, when a person complains to another, they found that person reports feeling less than. They feel depressed. They feel less energetic, just lower and more miserable than before the conversation. And the funny thing is, the person who complained reports that they don't feel any better either. It's only a negative. Complaining doesn't do anything for a conversation. I gotta read this. But according to Maslow's positive psychology, complaining does not fit into psychological strengths such as increased happiness, meaning in life, job satisfaction, and decreased depression. Their fault really comes down to a lack of resilience of stress and trauma in their life. This is because they can't imagine the idea that they're actually responsible for everything in their life. Everything. This is just generally something that just makes people unhappy. If this person just took responsibility for their life, they would have nothing to complain about. Now, the aftermath of somebody who complains and their perspective of them, it's interesting because despite, let's say they made fun of somebody and they made everybody laugh and, oh my God, that's great. And temporarily, maybe you even look down upon that person. Later on, there was a study that said that people thought back to the person who complained, they thought less of that person than the person they were making fun of. Backfired completely. How to recognize them. This section is basically my own accumulation of what I've learned on this subject. These are my own opinions, and I just think they're worth considering. That being said, the first thing I would do is take note of the frequency. It's important to know that venting, complaining, bridge when that happens, it's very important because you don't want to just write off people in your life because they're sad about something and they actually need some sympathy. This is an important distinction. And if you are giving sympathy, take note of how they're responding to it. Do they actually get better, or does the complaint continue and then move to another complaint and so on and so on? Are you actually doing any good? And this is another indication of complaint versus venting. Generally speaking, when somebody's venting, they start to feel lifted up. They maybe are a little happier. But again, it's that frequency. Are they being dramatic all the time? Or do they actually have a reasonable emotional issue? Or are they actually complaining about something that they're looking for an answer for? So that would be the next thing is if somebody's complaining, offer a logical solution. Now, I know that men and women are wired quite differently and the responses are different. I would still start off with logical answers and solutions to the problem. And then if that's not doing it, maybe it's venting, and then you go for the emotional route, and then you just take note. Maybe do it person by person, just take note of these things, but don't make any actions. Just, this is how I would behave around people. Just figure it out. Another way that you can tell if somebody's complaining or whatever than their behavior is, how much do they contribute to a conversation? Are they talking about things that they love and they're passionate about, or the world, or the things that they found and learned? These are conversation pieces, things that they want to teach and share, and maybe are or inquisitive about, or just generally just fluff talk, making jokes. That's normal conversation. Complaints are not. An emotional drama is not a normal conversation. This is found to be negative, and these people are miserable. What to do about them? Now, the first thing that you want to do is don't complain about them. If there's a person in your life, leave them alone. Just get away from them. Don't become like them. They're like a poison. They're contagious. Stay away. Just don't complain to other people about the person who's complaining. And yeah, you want to walk away. If they keep talking and you're trying to get away, a good tactic is to acknowledge that you heard them, maybe repeat what they said, just some kind of a bounce back so that they feel acknowledged, just enough to give you the opportunity to get out of there. It's not too hard once you have the practice. And this one, you got to stay positive around these people. It's tough, I know, and it's just stay positive, easier said than done. And it's not just normally staying positive like you would with any part of your life. They're against you and your world and your emotions and your mood, all that. It's like swimming against the current. It takes extra energy just to be in the same room with this person. They're just tearing you down emotionally and just like heavy eyes, destroying your mood. So yeah, you got to stay positive and push against that current because it's tough. They're really tough. They're vampires. Take note that if you do have this person in your life, you may have to reserve a certain amount of energy for them and take it from something else, unfortunately. Next thing you could try doing is challenging them. If they're complaining about stuff, offer them the other viewpoint, tell them something positive, actually challenge their worldview and see if maybe you can open up their mind and help them see things differently. I know it's not possible for a lot of people. Some people are too far gone. That's just how they are. They're going to have to live in their own misery. They're reaping what they sow. It's their fault, not yours. But this one, you got to tread carefully because you can make things more miserable, and then you're a person of the attack may backfire. So this one, just be careful with. And when you're doing this, maybe try to keep it logical. Remove the emotions from the conversation if they bring up how they feel about things. Start bringing in data and facts that you've learned about whatever they're talking about, and just keep it logical. There's no reason to bring your own emotions and your own moods into it. That's just my personal method. That's what I would do. What if it was you that was the complainer? Mindfulness is the biggest enemy to negativity in your life, and meditation would be the largest contributing factor to making you a happier and healthier person. I personally do it every day. I highly recommend you incorporate it into your life. Even though many people have found that traditional meditation, sitting Indian style or lotus, whatever, works for them, it may not work for you. And that's completely reasonable. You don't have to actually do it that way to meditate. And you also don't have to do it for 40 minutes every single day or 20 or whatever. You can do it literally for 1 minute. It's a whole nother video, but look into it. You can literally just do it at the desk. It's just practicing mindfulness. Observing ego. Now, this is your practice of taking note of how you behave. Think back on when you were around people and the things that you do. Kind of back up as if you're in an out-of-body experience looking at your life. How do you behave? What do you talk about? This general observation of yourself is really going to fine-tune quality of character that you have. You will find this kind of behavior in people who set really high goals and achieve them. It's an excellent quality to have. Just back up as if you're somebody else and watching the movie of your life. And if you are starting to complain, that mindfulness will kick in and you'll recognize, oh man, I'm being negative, I'm complaining, I'm just being a weirdo right now. Catch it and be like, but it's actually okay because this is this. And bring yourself back and reel it up, kind of just backpedal on the whole conversation. Fix it. It's okay to recognize that you're just being a Debbie Downer and you caught it. You're like, oh, wow, this is a weird thing. I'm sorry about that. And just reel it in. It'll be okay. It's fine. It's okay. It's better than just letting it be a complaint. So people aren't mind readers. So if you're venting and you're actually not complaining, you're just having a really tough time, you're really frustrated, but you're okay with the situation, it's important to let the person know that that's what you're doing. You're venting, you're self-aware enough to be like, no, this isn't a complaint. I'm just super frustrated and I'm down, And what this might look like or sound like would be like, oh man, yeah, I don't know. She's just so frustrating. I know I'm venting here. I just gotta get it out. It's so annoying. Something like that. It's not cringy. It's just slide it in there. Just let the person know so that they can just go, oh, okay. And then just listen. It's quite reasonable. Now, one of the biggest negatives of complaining is it lowers your value and status as well as respect. A good example of this is in the military. You should always gripe up or to an equal. You don't gripe to a soldier you're in charge of and expect them to respect you more because you've shared your woes of life. Yes, it may make you feel human, but they're losing respect for you. They're not seeing you as the status symbol. You're bringing yourself down, and you never really know how other people are going to see you. So it's generally considered a bad thing to gripe down. So just don't do it. If you like the people and you respect them, you have to respect yourself and the relationship that you have. There is a study that touches on the idea of saying is experiencing. And this really goes to show why affirmations are so important and how they truly work to make people who are striving after huge goals, such as like Mr. Olympia or their first $1 million, they generally follow some sort of affirmation. An affirmation is the opposite of a complaint. Finally, people don't like being around people who complain. It brings their moods down. Complaining isn't conversation. I'm going to say that again. Complaining is not conversation. Now, I know it's tough to have these people in your life that are really negative and you want to change them, but it's not a good idea. It goes back to these people just don't feel like they have control. So the more that you feel like a victim to them and to their world that they're pulling you into, you're just becoming like them. And you're getting poisoned with this idea that you don't have full control of your life and you're not responsible for every single thing in it. Not 99%, 100%. And yes, maybe you got in an accident, something terrible happened, something genetic. These things, you still have to take responsibility for it. And it's not necessarily happened to you. It's just, what are you going to do with it from here on out? And that mentality is how you should treat these people as well. If you're the person doing it, this is how you're going to change, because you're going to end up down the road alone and miserable and making others miserable as well. Be careful, do the best you can. I think it starts with mindfulness and being self-aware, but I believe that everybody can change and it's okay to change. You don't have to be like you were yesterday. You owe it to nobody to stay the same. You can just be a happier person and be more positive and cut out the people that are negative. And I say it again, you owe it to no one to be the same. So I'm Jeff Boncristiano, and I make videos all about thinking better, living a better life, and basically things in my life that I found have made it better. And it can be a photography trick to some psychological readings that I found, or just something about whatever I'm thinking. It's just my life and I'm sharing the best parts of it. So subscribe if you want to hear more of me stuttering. And like this video, share it if you think it could help somebody deal with somebody who's complaining all the time in their life and just making them miserable. So till next time, peace.